Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about J. Cole's retirement album. Yes, his last ever album titled The Fall Off. A long-awaited album that has been anticipated for I think almost 10 years now by a lot of fans and many casuals as well. Considering me, I'm a casual J. Cole fan, not the diehard J. Cole fan. This is one of the most highly anticipated albums in a very long time. So let's talk about it. So J. Cole dropped The Fall Off, which in a very surprising manner has 24 tracks on the album, coming at a runtime of an hour and 40 minutes, which is a very long album for J. Cole standards. That usually his albums are like only like 10 to 14 tracks. Considering his last album, Might Delete Later, was coming at 12 tracks, but when you remove the diss track from 7 Minute Drill, yes, he's still a bitch for that. It was only 11 tracks. And then his other album, Off Season, only coming out at 12 tracks. So this is a lengthy album with two discs, one half of being consisting of like about 12 and then the other half being another 12. So this was a pretty lengthy album, and I gotta say, this has been a great album. I'm not the biggest J. Cole fan, but it was great. For what it did and for what it was meant to do was really good. However, there's certain things I have to talk about that I just think will hurt the album in the long run and is already hurting it commercially considering the streams that it debuted at on Spotify currently. But let's talk about some of the issues and things that I liked and what I didn't like about the album. Obviously, J. Cole's pen is phenomenal. We know how J. Cole is. He's a lyricist. He's one of the best on the mic, bar for bar, anything like that. He's one of the best. When one of the big three drops, Drake, J. Cole, or Kendrick, you go listen to it, and that's what people did with The Fall Off here now. The rollout was practically non-existent. He just announced it like a couple weeks prior, and boom, here he is. But he's one of the rappers who get a pass that don't really need a proper rollout. But here we are. The Fall Off has officially dropped. And so let's talk about the album. So obviously, you know, his lyricism is going to be top notch. This is his last album. This has taken years to accomplish at this point. Again, I'm gonna sit here and just say this: no album is worth 10 years, 5 years, 8 years to drop. I'm not waiting that long for album. I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter if the album is perfect. No album is worth that long to wait. So I'm just gonna say that this album is not worth 10 years. But again, no album is worth 10 years. I don't care if it's even perfect. It's just no album is worth that long. So I'm already gonna just eliminate that. But the pressure wasn't as much on J. Cole as much as I think for ASAP Rocky, because ASAP Rocky was gone longer than J. Cole. But let's talk about other things about the album that was great. He tried different things on the album, on certain songs. Like some of his love songs on there were probably the best tracks on there in my opinion. Like Only You is definitely a fucking banger in my opinion, featuring guys like Burna Boy on the song, who had a great performance on there. Which leads me to my next point of things I didn't like were the lack of features. There were practically no features on here. But some of the features he did have on here, mainly one, is questionable. Why the fuck, out of any rapper you want to put on here, you decide to put Future? Future had this weak, lazy, boring verse on one of the tracks that I was just like, oh, this is Future, isn't it? And it was, and I was just like, Future is so overrated, man. His last, like, genuinely his best song this decade is Superhero, which came out years ago. Future, I don't know what he can do. He needs to reinvent himself. It was just boring. I didn't like that part. But seriously, the features on here were just whatever. Like, you have Burna Boy on here, Future, Thames, and like I think two or three other artists. Nothing really crazy. Not enough features in my opinion. We're missing guys like JID, Bass, just people from Dreamville, just in general. Someone different, like maybe a Tyler the Creator, or maybe people thought Drake was gonna be on here, or maybe someone like 21 Savage, like a staple of that caliber, or someone new who's popping off, like he did that on the off season when Lil Baby was coming up. He put him on the album, or like Moray, he put him on the album too, but he put like no one who was coming up or anything like that. He just went with a very, very boring feature list, if I have to say so, and just it's just not enough, because considering those 24 tracks, dog, you need to put some features on there. I don't care if you're the GOAT. I know he's done it before, but it's 24 tracks. This isn't Forest Hill Drives. Like, we need you to go on here and put some features on here. He should have put some other guys on here, but I mean, it's fine. At least he didn't put some dog shit features on here. It's whatever. I mean, the Future one was very questionable. I would have not put him on this album. I think Future is very boring as it gets. And which leads me to another part that maybe hurts the album depending on the listener, is how long some of these tracks are on a per to per basis. I think the average track length for each song is about 4 minutes, slightly over 4 minutes per track, which is questionable considering like their intro track's like 30 seconds. So that already like bumps it even more, because let's be honest, the Gen Z, the people in our generation now, the attention span is so trash. Everyone wants to keep swiping on their phone. Like the attention span has gotten worse and worse and worse. Everyone wants to self-diagnose themselves with ADHD. And when you drop an album like this compared to the fall off like 4 years ago in 2021, which is now approaching 5 years now, people are just not going to be the same. Like the attention span has just drastically gotten worse. So from that time to now, people just don't want to sit there and listen to a track for 4 to 5 minutes. Yes, some of them are great, but some of them are just a little boring. I'll be honest. I'm not gonna sit here and say every track that J. Cole dropped on this album was perfect, because it wasn't. Which then leads me to my next point of why I think this hurts the album, is it reflects the first day streams on Spotify. Guys, this is a huge decline from his previous album. And when I say previous album, I'm just going to keep referring to the off season, because Might Delete Later genuinely was just a stupid decision to put out. It was a good album. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just when he put it out was bad. Like, I don't know what the reason why he did it, because he did it in the midst of the Drake and Kendrick beef and put the diss track on there and it took it back, which I genuinely thought was probably the most dumb decision he's ever made in his career. You can't be a rapper who claims you're the best on the pen and then take a track back and just retract your statement and say sorry. It just makes you feel like a loser and just like an outcast, like you don't belong in the big three conversation. So it's just like, it was just dumb, and I genuinely think that hurted this album itself. The album Might Delete Later should have never came out. It should have never existed. That diss track should also have never existed. And if it were to coexist with along the other diss tracks that Drake and Kendrick threw out to each other, should at least still be active, but it's not, because you took it back, because maybe he's just really not like that. Although he's claiming that throughout the album, that people really don't think he's really like that as like the legendary like pen writer and like that, but he claims like he's the top writer in the rap scene and everything like that. But it's just like, how can people take you serious when you literally retracted a whole track from an album that's titled Might Delete Later and missed the Drake and Kendrick beef? It just makes him look bad. And so when you drop The Fall Off with 24 tracks and it debuts at only 35 million streams in its opening day on Spotify, it looks bad. Guys, this is not even the biggest debut in rap this year. ASAP Rocky's album, Don't Be Dumb, performed better first day streams on Spotify than The Fall Off. And that is considering the same 24-hour tracking period and everything like that. That is not good. J. Cole is a much bigger established artist than ASAP Rocky. There is no reason J. Cole should be doing less than ASAP Rocky. So what does that tell me? It tells me people are not caring about J. Cole anymore. The diss track thing, whatever that happened last, like almost 2 years ago now, hurt him a lot. And that making this album this fucking long, with tracks being 4 minutes long per track or anything like that, also hurt it, because people don't want to go back to a song that's like 4 or 5 minutes long. I had a conversation with my friend and he's basically saying, hey, long songs like 4 or 5 minutes are just not gonna be a hit. I'm sorry, but it's true. A lot of songs that are like 4 or 5 minutes just can't be hits. Usually the hits these days are like 2 minutes, 1 minute, hovering over like the 2 minute marker or like that. Occasionally 3 minutes. Anything beyond that is just like, it's hard to blow up those songs, right? There's got to be something unique about it. But J. Cole, the production was great. It was safe and everything like that. It's just something you expect from J. Cole. There's nothing here that I'm like, this is the hit, because this is just J. Cole. He's not chasing hits, right? If he wanted to chase hits, he can do that, but he didn't do that on here. Maybe there's certain ones out here, but I just don't see that being the case, because a lot of these songs are like 4 minutes plus, and none of these are gonna be hits, and that's fine. But it's just, for J. Cole standards, these numbers on Spotify, in my opinion, are piss poor, and it's a bit of an L. This is a huge L in my opinion. Like GNX got like around 40 million streams opening day on Spotify only in its first 7 hours during the tracking period, because it wasn't accounted for the 24 hours. So not the greatest look for J. Cole in my opinion, but luckily this is his last ever album, so he never has to experience this ever again. But pretty ironic considering it's called The Fall Off, and this is not good numbers for J. Cole standards. I thought The Fall Off was guaranteed doing at least 70 million streams its opening day. It did half that, which is very concerning considering this is J. Cole. The big three. He's part of that. People always put him up there in that category. And now I just feel like people just see J. Cole as a joke now. And it's kind of unfortunate that this is where the end of his career is at now, because if he's true to his word, this is his retirement. There should be no other projects after this. And it's just like, that's it. You can't take it back. This is your retirement album. We salute you to the end, and that's it. And it's just like, well, I don't know what J. Cole, I don't know what the thought process of dropping Might Delete Later was, because I genuinely thought that was so stupid to just do that out of the blue during like the biggest beef in like decades. And you decide to do that. And it's just like, it was just a poor decision that I think hurt this album, and it just hurted his legacy, I say, and just how people perceive him. Again, it doesn't matter how people perceive him, but I genuinely think it hurt the commercial success this album had the potential to be, because it just seems like it's gonna flop now. I think it's still gonna go number one, but I don't think it's gonna sell like 300,000 units in his first week. No, certainly not, unless he gets a lot of bundles out in time. I don't see that being I don't see that happening. So I think he's gonna sell maybe 180,000 units his first week, maybe 60K coming from pure sales, and then 130K coming from streams. Which that's those are not good numbers in my opinion. I'm sorry, those are not good numbers for J. Cole. When Don Toliver is getting almost 35 million streams in its opening day as well, 34 million, something like that, close to J. Cole, it's not a good look. Don Toliver is nowhere near the same caliber as J. Cole. So it's unfortunate. I think the album was great and everything like that. But I think there's some things about this album that people should talk about more. Let me know how you feel about the album. I'll see you next time.